My name is Tiokasin Ghosthorse. I have more names. I have 4 names, but I'm not going to explain them because that would take, if I was to write a book, it would take 500 pages to write just that, what I just said to you. I want to start with acknowledging the elders here. And when I speak of elders in a Lakota way, I just don't speak of human beings. I speak of those beings that are much older than us, that give us life. That is our wisdom, it's our intelligence, it's our consciousness as Lakota people. We'll preface with this. Lakota is not anything to do with being a human being, as we have no word as human beings, or human being, I'll get to that later. Is that in Lakota, when I say I am a Lakota, I'm saying asking for the centering of the inclusion of the original instructions. So I'm asking for the original instructions from the stars as we go here on earth, that are put down on the earth. And when we ask that, it's always the wisdom of that beyond information. And it's because we have no word for human being, but that we have always called ourselves we Chasha. And we Chasha. We is like the sun, the stars, the moon, the cosmos. Cha is like a tree. Sha is like a gift. So basically, if you put that in English, it means star beings. We are the star nation. And in that star nation, I've been designated as a sun dancer. And I've sun danced my time here when I was a younger man, when I was physically more fit. And so with that, I want to just begin this whole little journey we're going to go with, that you are involved with here, that I would like to ask for those beings, the trees, the rocks, the water, that you bring that consciousness into this building. That consciousness is sitting amongst us all the time. And listening to everything you're saying, every heartbeat, every thought, positive or negative, that it listens to you. And so we know, we don't believe, we know that those consciousnesses out there, the rocks, the water, the earth, the animals, those consciousnesses have chosen us to be of this form. They gave up this form, and they're alive, and they're intelligent, and they're thinking, and they're being. But where it divides the Western way of thinking, is that they don't think that's alive and conscious, because it has no thinking process. So we know that all of that made us, so therefore we have to understand our body. We listen to our body as well. And that's intelligence, to give honor to those consciousness that make us as human beings. And I'll go along with this. And I ask you to ask me a question if you're not clear on something, because in the end, it will make sense. I am not a linear thinker. I don't have a beginning, and I don't have an ending. I don't have this up and down. In our language, there is no word for domination. There is no word for domination. There is no concept for domination. So you can't think of anything higher or lower, because everything is equal. So much so that you don't even need the word for equal, because it just is. And it makes sense to us. In our language, in the real older language, that we have 260 directions. Each has the sound, the color, a vibration. And this is where our language comes from. And in that thought process of having no domination, Therefore, there can be no words such as war. There can be no words such as I or me. But only through this, the Mother Earth takes the I and me out of the center and places you within the center. Now, if you can understand that, Mother Earth takes the I and me out of the center and places you within the center. Because the I and me are about selfishness. So every word that we speak in English, it always is about I or me. I did this, I did that, I did that. And then you also accompany it with want. In the old Dakota language, there's no word for want. Because if you live in a world of abundance, your language is nothing but appreciation, gratitude, thankfulness. But I live in America, I live in the United States. And in the United States, everybody wants something. Everybody lacks something. So they have developed a language that has no roots, by the way. English has no roots. But they have developed a language of lacking. Everything you're talking about is lacking, needing, overpowering, dominating, killing, war. And I know this. Because in the Lakota language, we can't even think that. Because everything is related, everything is alive. How could you do that to material? I have degrees in the Western world. I used to be a computer programmer. This day, I would be a multi-millionaire if I kept programming computers. But something happened to me back then, 27 years ago. And that something that happened was not a voice from heaven, music coming from heaven, or enlightenment, or any of that stuff that we think should be coming from the other way. What happened to me was a voice coming from earth. And it was from that day, things began to upload. They uploaded. They stopped downloading. Because everybody that I was friends with were all in the mind that they became so heavenly that there were no earthly good. And in the way of thinking, I thought, well, there's something with this way of thinking. There's something with the other way of thinking. The domination and the relationship, the rationality and the relationship. And who am I? Who are my people? But the Lakota people. The Lakota people, the stars, the trees, the plants, the animals, the water, all of those are Lakota, including other human beings. We also have no such thing as racism. Now that sounds easy in a political climate of the United States. Oh, no such thing as racism, yet there is. Yes, there is racism because you're black, you're white, you're yellow, you're red. But if we go back to the seed of origin, we only have people of culture, not people of color. Because that's too easy to scheme to have people of color, because then they can use it. Because the culture of earth is much bigger than thoughts, concepts of man, at least in the West. We have no word for hate. We have no word for love. We have no word for poor. We have no word for rich. Because everything was in balance. And I say was, because was is now a seed. And that seed has emerged. And as you as Indigenous peoples know, you feel it somewhere. So I took my degrees, pulverized it, made it into manure, and fed those thoughts. So my degrees took me nowhere. They took me to the halls of the United Nations. Sure they did. But then, with that thought of uploading Mother Earth, someone asked me to speak on the radio. So in 1992, 200,000 indigenous peoples gathered on October 12th in San Francisco of the United States. And we marched and we celebrated 500 years of surviving Columbus. 500 years. And as we walked down the street, there were guns on all the streets and all the rooftops pointed at indigenous peoples. A month later, I walked into a radio station, and in this radio station, what happened was to be asked to be on the radio. I didn't know how to be on the radio. I don't know, what am I doing here? Why am I here? What have I got to say? I just want money. I want that new car, and I want that golf course, and I want television. This is what I want. But I didn't know how to not want until I start again speaking my language, because I was born at a time in my country, in Turtle Island, not the United States. Turtle Island, when my mother had to walk 3 miles to the nearest hospital. I don't know how many kilometers that is, but 3 miles to the hospital, because it was illegal to have native indigenous babies the old traditional way of gravity to work. And she walked 3 miles. There was no telephones, there was no cars. My father was out hunting, and my mother walked 3 miles. And she kept saying, "Hold on, baby, hold on, hold on." And that day they couldn't tell if you were going to be a boy or girl. And she got to the hospital, and my father supposedly came running up on his horse, and there I was. But I think that was my first lesson in life. It was patience. Patience. So I think that's what I had. As you saw it today, I've been sitting all these days, I've been sitting here listening to you, because I wanted to hear what you had to say. I don't want to listen to your ideas. I wanted to listen to what your heart was saying. Because it has everything to do with the language that I speak in Lakota. We have no word for conscience in Lakota. We only have consciousness. Consciousness. Because look what we're made of. That tree is not blowing in the wind saying, "Look, I'm green. Am I shining just right? Am I tall enough? Am I green enough?" It's not asking that. It's conscious. It's doing its original instructions, growing and giving the air to us. So we know this as indigenous peoples. And so, along the lines of growing up, I could tell many tragic stories, but it led to radio. The radio helped me find that voice. And it's not that I was contemplating thought, but that the thought was already contemplating me. You see? So I give it what it gives to me, and I'm honoring it. So the message has always been bigger than my voice. The message is heard on 75 radio stations throughout North America, and it's called First Voices Indigenous Radio. It talks about you. It talks about someone chopping down that plant, someone destroying the consciousness that I know indigenous peoples who live with Earth, not on the Earth, who live with Earth, have peace with Earth, will not actively go out and chop it without thinking about it, feeling about it, without consciousness. Because consciousness is this to us as Lakota. Chante. In English, it means heart. In English, it means heart. Think about what it does to that heart in English. But in Dakota, it means Tree-ing, that means chant. Te means living. So we're living tree-ing. Our hearts are living tree-ing. And that's the consciousness. Why is it called a tree? Living? It's because when that seed is put into the ground, that seed becomes a scientist. That scientist understands water, hydrologist, understands the minerals, understands the weather, understands all this stuff in order to, at that moment, become a tree. And it comes above the surface of dirt or earth, and it understands another type of dimension. And this dimension says there are ants and bugs all over the place, and it learns to tolerate, and learns to keep doing its original instruction. And this tree grows to be a big tree with all the root structure underneath. And this root structure underneath has done one thing, has communicated with all the other trees on earth. We know this. And this above the root, it's understood the weather patterns, the seasons. Where I come from, there's 4 seasons. It's very cold in South Dakota, 65 degrees below. You can throw water up in the air and it turns to snow. And you can bake an egg on a rock in the summertime. And you have to be hardy to live in that temperature. But this tree does that very well. And it grows, and it understands this that human beings of the modern world have forgotten. That tree grows, and it's there, and it understands the stars from day one. It's conscious, aware. This is why we call our hearts, our language, this head that the Western mind says is intelligence, is to us only in Nasula. What does Nasula mean? It means this area from your belly button to the top of your head back down in a circle. And it means that your brain is only a tool. Your brain is merely a seed of the heart. You see, so our language is a heart language, always has been. Never will be anything else. It comes from the heart. It understands the consciousness. So the Lakota language is one of 22 dimensions. Has 6 levels. And this is why earlier I said a small paragraph in Lakota can make 500 pages in English. In 1930, a Catholic priest came to Lakota country. And before I mention that, Dakota didn't have a word for war, because war means this. War means once more cattle. That's all war means, once more cattle in the Sanskrit language. And we didn't know what that, why did we need more buffalo when there's plenty? So in that way of understanding the language, our vocabulary was originally somewhere from 3,500 words. And when the Catholic priest came to redefine the language and make a dictionary, he added 178,000 more words to slice and dice the language. And so he did this. He bound our language to death. He subjected everything to domination. He made everything into objects without spirit. So that's what the Catholic priests with the monotheism came to do, without recognizing the consciousness of all life, of all equality was there. And so that's a little primer. I know we're running out of time, I know that. Even that, having no time, is non-existent for us. How could consciousness begin and end? It's always been there. Time is an invention of man. How could we have a language of concepts? Our language in Lakota has no concepts. Think about that. No concepts. You indigenous peoples know this. You indigenous peoples know this. You feel this. But the language we've been using has been taking us to the UN, to them, to say they have the power. When Patricia mentioned the fact that the integrity of who we are has been overlooked. We have no word for colonization. We have no word to decolonize. That's what they want us to be in, that fight. I want this land, I need this land, and that's cool that we do that, but we're forgetting our spirituality in the same sense, going to the UN. That this is how we're supposed to do it, and you'll get this much money for it. I mentioned that the Lakota had to learn how to fight, how to go to war with the United States. We engaged in 50 military battles, and we Lakota won every one of these battles. Every one of them. How did they get rid of us? They got rid of 80 million buffalo on the vast plains of central North America. 80 million buffalo. Then they introduced diseases to us. You know the story. And then they introduced a God to us. He introduced all these things that were adverse to living conducively with Mother Earth. And so we've been on this trip for 160 years. And I like the fact that we say this is the heart of Mother Earth. And that all cultures have come here. Well, it's the same with Makakea, Turtle Island, that all cultures, all nations, all tongues, all languages have come to North America, have come to the land of the native peoples. And it's because of this. 7,000 languages are now spoken in the world. Now think about having nearly 20,000 languages. 20,000 languages throughout North and South America. Today, of the 7,000 languages spoken in the world, 76% of them are indigenous languages in the world. We are barely 4% of the population of 7.5 billion humans. By the end of the century, 5,600 of those languages, which are all indigenous languages, may be extinct. At the end of the century, when that ionic is grown, so you may not be a speaker language. All those languages are gone. And I know that your language is why it makes you as an indigenous person, a native person. And that's the root. And you can interrupt me anytime because it may be making some of us uncomfortable. I know it is. Some of you heard this already. You think I'm maybe criticizing something. But no, it's a world of inclusion. Whether we have a relationship, you can't even exclude anybody, anything. So therefore, Mitaku Oyasi defines relationship with everything. Even when you say water or poverty, when we say mini, it doesn't mean water. Just when we say mini, just the sound means that which is relationship between you and I. When I add me to it, it means life or living. When I say me, living, but when you pronounce E separately, it means voicing, living, relationship. So basically you say that which carries feelings between you and I and all life. So that's the word for me. So when we say we can't say water, we really know we need that which carries feelings between all relationships. So this is how we describe water. We feel it. It's energy. It's not a concept. It's not a concept. There's so many words that I've found in my 30-some years of teaching in the West. And it's been very unorthodox. I seem to be a heretic, 20 years ahead of my time sometimes, because I argue with my own people. They argue with me. Because even our spirituality has become patriarchal, like religion. And yet our spirituality to us was brought to us by a woman. And this is why they banned, I mentioned earlier at the beginning, that they have banned Native American or Native languages for over 100 years until 1978 in North America, in the United States. We couldn't speak, 2 or 3 of us couldn't gather because they would come to kill us. They would do these things. And when you spoke your language, you were punished. There was this thing called boarding school that Americans don't want to hear because we don't speak about those things in America. We were talking about a language of denial in America. How do we rationalize denying that? So the thing that I know from my studies is the reason why we didn't have a written language. It was too big to be put in the linear sense of A to Z. This is why we cannot have a written language. It's evolved past writing. Think about that. It's evolved past writing. It's evolved past media. Think about this. So we have to go back to the box. We say, oh, this is the reality we're living in. We have the money and all this stuff. Get our education, but we don't even know what education means. Education. Educate means to educe or seduce. The real meaning is to draw out or lead away from spirit. That's what education means. To draw out or lead away from spirit and replace with information. And information is controlled by government. Govern means to control, ment means mind. So the government is controlling what you learn and keeping you from going to nature and banning your practices, your language, your songs, your connection. You see, and this is pretty rough, I know, for people. And I think where I'm at now, it feels like we need to approach this. We need to approach this. Because this is what is the ultimate. When all their lands are gone, when all these things are gone, we can say, well, we have hope, but we don't even know the etymology of the language we speak that controls. Why do I have to speak English instead of Lakota? Which I'm sure the elders can understand because it's an energy language. Instead of mind conceptual. This is what we know in Solomon. And in the Western world, it takes, now this is a quote from John Gallup, who was New York State Teacher of the Year in the state of New York where I live now. He retired with this. He accepted with the award with his final statement. He said, it takes 12 years for the average child, the average student, to learn how to become reflexive to authority. Because the authority is usually standing in front of you like I am, usually in digitized rows. And we are taught that's authority because of the way, the nature of the language. Latin control, Latin language. English has 62% Latin language. We don't use it anymore. English language, as well as other technical languages, the English language began to die around 1910 at the advent of the Industrial Revolution. And it's gotten technical and got us away from living with Earth. And it taught us, because of the colonization, that we too must live the way they live, because therefore we won't survive if we don't speak their language and live the way and do the things they want us to do. There's no root in these languages that we're speaking. We don't feel it. I know, because I go around the world and I talk to environmental students. And they're speaking the same language as a corporate board meeting. You can close your eyes and listen to the words of war against Earth. Once they're doing that, you can go to the environmentalists, the do-gooders for Mother Earth, and they're speaking the same language as the corporate board. The very same language. How to outdo the corporate board. But when I come here, it feels different. I feel that Native people have a much deeper tree roots consciousness. A tree roots consciousness, not grassroots. Your grassroots movement changes like that, and that's the language you're given. Tree roots consciousness, your people. That's what keeps us safe, ensures us that we will learn and begin and still live with Mother Earth, not merely survive or exist. You see, and this is dangerous, because we have culture which they don't want us to have. When you don't have culture, you can move all over the place. In the United States, 75% of the people move every 5 years. Every 5 years. But you hear nothing about Native people, except on one holiday called Thanksgiving. You hear nothing about Native people. Oh, Standing Rock? Yeah, I was in Standing Rock. Ooh, they bought a pipeline, but they lost. 14,000 people came overnight, basically. But I know a lot of those Native peoples have lost their consciousness and got back into the box of beginning and ending. And they're still in that box, and they're trying to get a piece of the American pie when we forget that the bakery belongs to the Native people. You see? Now, let's get rid of the word of possessiveness and ownership. The domination says you have to own, you have to put borders here, this is yours, this is mine. In Fukushima, which I've been to several times, they said, well, you can't eat fish outside of 80 kilometers. But the fish, how do they know? How do they know what the border is? And yet, Americans are eating radioactive fish. So we know this is, my job was to go out into the world and always feed my home with what I could. In my early radio experience, I was shot at 2 times in my radio studio that I was sitting in. I received hate mail, a promise to be killed, all these things. My co-host quit because he could not handle it. I kept going because the message was about Earth, Mother Earth, and no one was listening. And even here, why are we doing this? It's almost, when I talk about environmentalism to the environmental students, I say, well, what if we didn't have to have these things anymore? It's because we're living with Earth again. We're living with Earth again. Why do we have to have these meetings like this one? Maybe it's less and less again just because we're starting to live the way we're supposed to or intended to, without borders and all that. So, yeah, so it sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm I don't say compassionate or passionate or I'm simply very, I feel it, empathy. That's what it is. I talked about it when we first met. I cried. First for Earth, because I see how beautiful she is. And then I do that. I'm 6'3". I could probably touch this. And I played football, American football. But I still have that heart of Earth. What if someone turned off the switch to social media? Who controls social media? Yesterday in the United States, the Federal Communications Commission voted to get rid of internet, basically, and give it to the elite. So the poor people, like indigenous peoples are, won't have accessibility to social media. Who's going to control that? Are we putting our eggs in one basket? So let's pretend that we don't have to go back to history. If we could dress any damn well way we want to, and keep on the continuum, and get off their time scale, the beginning and ending, and get back on the continuum with the cosmos that we know so well. And when I suggest this to young people, I say, think about it. Are you prepared not to deal with the electricity? Are you prepared not to deal with the things that you've been taught to deal with in the Western Hemisphere as comfort and progress and evolution? That if you don't get it, then you cause a revolution. But yet it's always about evolution. Do we really need, does Mother Earth need us to live this way? So I think about the continuum that I know you come from, that I know you find in your ceremony. So when I come here and I dress like this, I think about pants. Oh, Europeans didn't have pants. They had knickerbockers that came up here. They saw us living and having leggings, things like that, at least in North America. That, as you know, this supposedly is 100,000 species of plants in the Amazon. Western science knows 10,000 of those. But the Native people know all 100,000 without ever going on Facebook or ever going on any Google. They know this. They feel it. As you know, they talk to the plants to get the consciousness, the knowledge, the wisdom as to how to use that plant. And that's the other thing, too. I think children of today, I know I have two children, one 27 and one just turned 20. And they said that they noticed something. They're the so-called millennial generation. That's a border mindset that says there's a division. Because when I go among indigenous peoples in the world, they don't see division. But it comes to the Western cost of our minds to give it to them, say, okay, we're millennials. And we're going to do things your way in order to get what we need from you, which is called Stockholm Syndrome. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. So when I think about the young people, of course I was young once, and I didn't have all of those things, but then I did. Then I say, okay, let's switch the light off. Who's going to know how to survive?